Labour's problem with patriotism, and Labour has many problems with patriotism and always has. Labour, for a long time, have essentially been co-opted by the communists, going back to literally early 2010s, like early 2013, 2014. And this has been something that led to the rise of Jeremy Corbyn as Twitter leftists infected the Labour Party, worked their way up through the ranks, started infecting the sort of organs of the party itself, and turning it against the country. And you see this egged on by the media. There's a kind of like left-wing industrial complex that ends up creating this kind of sort of cultural space. And this is how you end up with people going, oh, look at this poor asylum seeker. It's like, yeah, because everything against Britain, everything against Britain becomes good, everything for Britain becomes bad, and this puts the Labour Party in the position they're currently in now. I mean,
so if a foreigner murders members of staff and a policeman, that's a good thing.
That foreigner is the victim, and
those policemen
Britain bad,
and those staff, they kind of had it coming. Working in a hotel, the working class,
taxpayers having to pay to rebuild all of this stuff after you've been put up there for their expense.
Yeah, but
they're the oppressors.
I want to get the point here. Like the people working in hotels at lowest level jobs, the working class people of Britain, they deserve to be murdered. That's essentially the position you end up at, which is that their lives don't matter.
Their lives don't matter is the position you essentially end up at. And I mean, this is an old problem. Like, this is Emily Thornberry in 2014, where someone had put up in England some English flags, and she was screeching about the far right. And so, we don't need to talk about it because it's from 2014. Yeah. But
it's a very working class thing to do.
It's a very, very working class thing to do. And but it should also be a middle class thing to do. Weirdly, this is the kind of alliance. It's like a working class and upper class thing to do. Because I mean, in 2013, Boris was parading around with English flags, going, "Look, we need to reclaim the English flag."
The toffs and the working class love the English flag.
Exactly.
Middle classes in the Labour Party hate it.
Exactly. The single degree university educated midwits who have bought into essentially the most pure view of the Enlightenment completely reject any kind of patriotism or national pride. And this is, like I said, this has been a problem for a long time. And this is why Jeremy Corbyn got so absolutely canned by Boris. Because if there's one thing about Boris that you can't fault him on, it is the fact that he seems to genuinely be a patriot. He genuinely seems to like this country. He seems to like the union, and he seems to think we can do good. And at the end of the day, he's got so many other failings, but that you can't fault him on. And so Keir Starmer has obviously figured this out, that actually it turns out that if we say we hate the country and we should be a bunch of urban elitists...
Yeah, the public don't like that.
The public don't like it, and they don't tend to vote for it. And so there was a leaked document that was a presentation given as a strategy, an internal strategy presentation that was given, that the left is outraged by. Absolutely outraged by. I mean, as you can see from the title, leak reveals Labour plan to focus on flag and patriotism to win back voters. How dare they? We spent so much time undermining and destroying this country, and you're just going to be like, no, we like this country. That's unacceptable, right? So Labour apparently must make use of...
How pathetic do you have to be to, like, maybe we should like the flag?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll get to all that. Because it's unreal.
Have we tried liking the country we're trying to rule?
Yeah, have we tried not berating the voters? Labour must make use of the Union flag, veterans, and dressing smartly as part of a radical rebranding to help it win back the trust of disillusioned voters, according to this presentation. It's like, really? Not hating veterans and dressing smartly. I mean, Corbyn, you've really done some damage to the party if it's got to go back to the most basic of things. Like, I mean, I would expect this to be like the presentation of a child in school,
I think Britain good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe we should wear suits, support our troops and wave the flag. And that should be the entry requirement for British politics, basically.
Like your son would give that presentation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The presentation, which has been seen and heard by The Guardian, is aimed at what the party calls foundational seats, a new term for the Red Wall, which itself is a fairly new term anyway, that handed Boris Johnson the landslide because Labour have realised they got absolutely kicked. It reveals that voters could not describe who or what Labour stands for. Good job. That's what happens when you bring in the left. What do you stand for? Pfft. While Labour leader Keir Starmer is rated by voters as the party's biggest positive driver, concerns were voiced about him sitting on the fence. The strategy is yet to be shared with MPs or staffers, and the Labour Party managers are understood to be preparing a redacted version because of its, quote, sensitivity. Some parties who have seen the presentation are alarmed by the language, believing that the leadership has not reckoned with the nationalistic sentiments it invokes. Yes, it is nationalistic, or what I would call patriotic, to support the troops and support the flag. And dress smartly, I guess, as well. You don't have to look like a bunch of college students or bums, Jeremy Corbyn. And this is coming from me.
He's not even wearing a shirt.
I'm not even wearing a shirt, but this is quite nice. This looks quite neat. Shut up.
Cope.
True. One Birmingham. I can't go and buy shirts. Everything's closed.
Yeah.
I will go and buy some new shirts when everything opens up. So, you can write to Boris if you think that I'm not dressed smartly enough.
We've got the flag.
We've got the flag. Exactly. Got the flag. And we support the troops. One Birmingham, what little of them are left, One Birmingham, it is like we've lost a war, to be honest. It's weird. Anyway, one Birmingham voter described Labour as two different parties under one name, and an ex-Labour voter from Grimsby is quoted saying they're the voice of the students, they have left real people, taxpayers behind. Well, that's true, but that's only because real people / taxpayers are bigoted far-righters who are, colloquial sort of Little Englanders who hate the idea of international communism. Anyway, what a bunch of racists. But anyway, the presentation suggests that displays of patriotism are needed to reinforce that the party has changed. One slide says, belonging needs to be reinforced through all messengers. Another is headed, communicating Labour's respect and commitment for the country that can represent a change in the party's body language. Yeah, well, that is very different to Jeremy Corbyn, who demonstrated a respect and commitment, and same with Emily Thornberry, by the way, who went to Fidel Castro's funeral. Anyway, after Jeremy Corbyn called Castro a champion of social justice, it does seem like the Labour Party doesn't have much of a commitment to Britain. And obviously, this is the only strategy that Labour have to become a relevant party again, because believe it or not, the communist constituency is actually very small.
I must say in my mind, I'm thinking a bunch of socialists who dress smartly and wave a bunch of flags and are very in tune with the military and support the military. Haven't we got a word for that?
Yeah, the SNP.
No, but the neo-socialists, the Oswald Mosleys of the world.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they are drifting. Fascism comes out of the left.
You've got to drop the socialism part. That's the other part that makes that cancerous.
Exactly. Historically, this kind of combination comes out of the left, and it probably is a result of realizing, Christ, the left actually hates us. But anyway. Among the top recommendations is the use of the flag, veterans, dress smartly, etc., etc. Blah, blah, blah. Right, so the lefty Labour MPs are not happy about this. Clive Lewis, one of Labour's leading ethnic minority MPs, said the Tory party has absorbed UKIP-based, and now Labour appears to be absorbing the language and symbols of the Tory party. Really? So so you are literally giving the Conservative Party the British flag. What a bloody stupid...
We gave the Tory party Britain. Yes, you did.
Unbelievable. Now, where do you want to get elected? Cuba?
God, it's such a brainlet meme, the brain's actually missing.
He decried the party's flag waving. I mean, he's just openly condemning waving the British flag at this point.
But I don't want to support Britain.
Yeah, well, that's exactly his point, right? It's not patriotism, it's fatherlandism. Okay. There is a better way to build social cohesion than moving down the track of the nativist right. Well, you don't seem to have come up with any good alternatives for Keir Starmer. I mean, there literally is only one option now, and it's for Keir Starmer to essentially come out and commit to being a patriot. Which, again, not exactly a difficult position, you'd think. But
Helen Dales said to us before, it's easier, one of the things that made the victory for Boris easy was that it's easier for the Tories to go left on economics than it is for Labour to go right on
patriotism.
On culture.
Yeah.
And this just shows how much of a tough time they have with it. Can we just be proud of the flag? That tiny step.
Oh, we'll get to it in a minute. Why they can't be proud. Well, I realise we're running on a bit, and we might not have.
We can go a little bit later.
We'll do our best. But anyway, so the strategy accepts that Labour has excluded and ignored once called voters, etc., etc. Right? And research concludes that Labour is essentially far too far to the left on economics as well, and lacks no part of the brand is no part of the brand is insulated. The Labour brand is insulated from a lack of economic credibility. Yes, but it's not like the Conservatives have much economic credibility either. But anyway, this is the manifest damage that the Communists have done to the Labour Party. And of course, the criticism started rolling in. This was from the Independent, that waving the flag is when you're out of ideas. Oh, shut up. Right. The lazy reaching for the Union Jack just only shows how far the party is from the better answer it needs to urgently find. It's just constant negging from the left, right? It's constant negging. Everything about you's bad. You're bad. You should do what I want. You're bad. You're bad. This is like an abusive girlfriend, right? And I can't stand it.
Why don't you reach for the red flag?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's basically their answer. That's basically their answer. We should be waving the communist flag and singing the Internationale, right? But anyway, my favourite take
literally did in Parliament.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's like I'm sorry. Yeah, we should have been clear about this.
Look up Labour Party International Parliament. They're literally singing it in the Parliament under Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even joking. You know, maybe we shouldn't have been so flippant about it because maybe people didn't know this. But yeah, they actually sing communist anthems in the British Parliament. But anyway, my favourite take from this was from one Rachel Swindon, who is a very prolific and, dare I say, influential Twitter activist.
Really went downhill.
Yeah. But this was funny, right? And so Rachel Swindon, for anyone who doesn't know, she apparently lives in Swindon. I don't know whether she does or not. But Rachel, if you ever watch this, if you'd like to come on and have an interview with us and explain to us your political positions in a reasonable and rational manner, we would love to speak to you. Of course, we won't be wearing any masks because actually we don't have to. So, you know, I mean, it's up to you. You can wear a mask if you want. But anyway, Rachel Swindon represents essentially like the id, the unthinking id of the Labour Twitter party. And she obviously puts out this blog post. Go now, Starmer, and take your patronising patriotism with you. This patronising patriotism is a hideous spectacle and has rightfully been widely panned. Okay, I think that's your bubble. Like you're widely panned on a very small bubble on Twitter. Anyway, she goes on and on and on, but since we're running out of time, I'm going to get to just the bits at the end what I wanted to get to. It's not the flag we're embarrassed of, it's very pretty, but we're embarrassed by the genocidal history that is attached to it. Okay.
Huh?
The days of empire erotica are long gone, I'm afraid. We were also embarrassed by the fascists who have hijacked the flag. The Tommy Robinsons, the Farages, the knobheads on Twitter calling themselves British Dean. Dude, you need to get off Twitter. I don't know what the hell you're talking about at this point. Like, I don't consider any of those people to be fascists. I don't know what British Dean means.
I don't even know how those people have co-opted the flag. Like, just because they've waved it once, therefore it's theirs.
Literally,
how pathetic are you?
It belongs to everyone in the country.
This is like the Pepe meme. Like, the fascists use it once, therefore we must abandon the whole thing.
They touched it. Quick, get away from it. Yeah,
like, you have no spine, do you?
Exactly. You. But that's the point. It's not they have no spine. It's that they hate the flag. They view the flag as the empire, and they view the empire as entirely negative, despite the fact that there are many people who are like descendants of the empire, like myself, who think the British Empire was bloody great. But yeah, so she goes on and on and on. There's a really long article,
but it sums up the response from the left.
It sums up the response, and of course, this is all being pinned on Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer has to go is the message, but that's been the message since day one because Keir Starmer isn't a communist, and unity with communists means submission. But anyway, this started trending. A Labour leadership election trended on Twitter. Of course, it did. Lots of again, Twitter leftists, Twitter Labour Party, carried on. There was one from James E. Foster. I will represent you, I will listen to you, and I will bring our party together. Well, those were colossal lies, Keir Starmer. Maybe he wasn't talking to you, James, you communist. Maybe he was talking to the good people in the north who were like, why has the Labour Party abandoned us for a bunch of crackhead college students? Like, what's going on here?
But it's like, not even that, it's just like, Keir Starmer gets elected. Hey guys, we should probably like the flag. You're not bringing us together. Fucking hell. Well, I feel for the guy.
Well, that's exactly it. We can only speak as we find. You've spent more time dividing than uniting and more time ignoring than listening. Well, that's a wise strategy from Keir, to be honest. The next one is the Left Wing Society, who tweeted out, we are fully behind a Labour leadership challenge. Keir Starmer promised unity. He has delivered anything but. Retweet if you support. And, they've got thousands of retweets. So, I mean, they do have some support there. But unity to the left seems to mean submission to their ideas. If you don't submit, that's it. You're the divider if you don't completely agree with us and do everything we say. But interestingly, Keir Starmer doubled down, which I didn't really expect. But
I think he understands that the communist part of his party is cancer and needs to die.
yeah, but there's also
As a tactical move.
he also seems to lack spine to me, in this honestly kind of in the same way that Boris does. So the fact that he's stood firm on this, unlike AOC, I'm prepared to admit when I had a mistaken intuition. I was wrong. Keir Starmer has more spine than was expected. A Labour spokesman said Starmer was proud to be patriotic. Keir wants to be Prime Minister of this country because he wants to believe that a best future is possible for the country. We can spread opportunities for everyone, blah, 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 blah. You can call it whatever you want, but you can call it whatever you want, patriotism or whatever, but that's what he stands for. Right, okay, so you don't even have a good working definition of patriotism. Just like, well, whatever it is you think it is, that's what he stands for. It's like, right, okay, very good. The Union flag represents a country that Labour wants to govern. The Empire. Imperial Labour is rising.